sound of a deep, resonant sigh followed by a thoughtful pause. Have you ever thought about how you'd act if your biggest rival, the person who made your life a living nightmare, was suddenly gone? Would you celebrate? Throw a party? Most of us probably would, at least a little bit, right? But that's not what David did. And his story, his rise from a shepherd boy in hiding to a king on a throne, is a masterclass in a different kind of power. When David hears the news that King Saul, the man who hunted him relentlessly, and his son Jonathan, David's best friend, have died in battle, he doesn't rejoice. He doesn't breathe a sigh of relief. Instead, the Bible tells us he tears his clothes. He mourns. He fasts. He even composes this beautiful, heart-wrenching lament called the Song of the Bow. He sings about Saul and Jonathan as the beauty of Israel, slain on your high places. Think about that. He honored the very man who wanted him dead. He showed respect, not revenge. This wasn't weakness. It was a profound strength, a humility that set the stage for his entire reign. He wasn't grabbing for power. He was grieving with the nation, even for his enemies. And it's on this foundation of humility that God builds something extraordinary. After David is finally anointed king over all of Israel, God makes a promise to him. It's not just, hey, you'll be a good king. It's so much bigger. God establishes a covenant, a sacred, unbreakable promise. He tells David, your house and your kingdom will endure forever before me. Your throne will be established forever. This isn't just about David's son Solomon taking the throne. This is a promise that echoes through eternity. It's a divine thread that weaves all the way through the Old Testament, pointing directly to a future king, a descendant of David who would one day establish a kingdom that has no end. This is the promise of the Messiah, Jesus Christ, the ultimate king from David's line. From a shepherdess field to an eternal throne, it was all part of God's magnificent plan. But David's majesty isn't just about power and promises. It's about a radical kindness that looks a lot like God's. Years later, as king, David asks a question that stops everyone in their tracks. Is there anyone still left of the house of Saul to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake? He finds one person, Mephibosheth, Jonathan's son, who was crippled in both feet and living in hiding, probably terrified that the new king would execute him to wipe out any rival claims. But David doesn't bring him to Jerusalem for execution. He brings him to his own table. He restores all of Saul's land to him and tells him, you will always eat at my table like one of the king's own sons. This act of grace is a living, breathing picture of what God does for us. We are the Mephibosheths, spiritually broken, hiding, separated from the king. And yet God, for Jesus' sake, seeks us out. He doesn't give us what we deserve. He invites us to his table, calls us his children, and lavishes us with an inheritance